All right, so moving on to literacy. So you may have clicked on this video because your little one or perhaps big one is having difficulties with literacy. Literacy refers to written word, so either difficulties producing written work or understanding and reading written work. There's a really nice phrase that someone once told me and it's just stuck with me, and I say it to parents all the time. Up until about year 2 or 3, we're learning to read, and from then we're reading to learn. So a lot of the medium that our kids are learning through school, and a lot of their information is that how it's being presented, is in written form. So most of our caseload would probably be that kindy to year 3 mark to really support literacy learning. However, we have a number of kids beyond that as well. And students all the way up until year 12 where our goals might shift a little bit and they might have that really functional reading capacity, but we're more working on their refining of those skills, the automaticity of those skills, comprehension, all of those sort of things, strategies for essays and all of that stuff that comes with the later learning stuff that I'm sure we all remember. So again, this is all very specific to your child and where they're at. But if you are looking for some extra literacy supports, I am going to link below. We've been shared, so I'm a Sounds Right trained clinician. Sounds Right is a UK-based phonics program that supports reading and writing success. So the traditional language sort of model is more of that sight words approach, more like use the picture to help you guess the word and those sorts of things, whereas Sounds Right certainly not that. Sounds Right is a phoneme-based, meaning so a phoneme is the smallest unit of sound. So using our sound knowledge to build literacy awareness. So rather than a little one looking at the frame of cat, so I'm writing on my hand. So if you could imagine the visual for cat, if I get technical and can do editing, I'll make the word go on there with font and editing and GarageBand and all that stuff. But if you imagine the word cat, the little one might look at that frame and go, oh yeah, cat, got that. But that's rote memory, and our memory bank only has so much capacity for those rote learned words. Whereas if they recognise cat, and that gets faster and faster, and there's identification of the different sounds as well as blending, which is the moving across, that'll help them in the long run. So I lost my train of thought, but I'll go on to the resources. Oh, that's right. So Sounds Right has just released a wonderful incentive given everything going on with COVID-19, and there are a number of ideas for parents in the home and how to implement Sounds Right based activities in a home setting. So if you're familiar and you've worked with me in the past, you may already know some of these programs and you've obviously been introduced to them through my work with your child or through another therapist. So it's kind of the gold standard of literacy intervention at this time, and it's rolling out very fast across Australia, really. A number of schools are currently working within the program, so developing it at a class level, and also people like myself and a number of Sounds Right tutors are working with it one-on-one. So ideas for, I guess, today's video was more general strategies for how to support and encourage reading and writing whilst you're out of the classroom, whilst your little one's out of the classroom. One thing I always like to tell parents to do is keep a diary. So they can decorate it, they can draw, they can do whatever they need to make it theirs. So bullet journaling is quite a big thing at the moment. They can do that, I really don't mind. But as long as they do a passage synopsis or start to do any form of writing daily, so daily practice of writing. So quite often if I have parents going on school holidays or extended leave, I'll get them to keep a diary and then they bring it into Miss M and we'll have a look over it together. But I will also do a link to a document that I've made that refers to punctuation police, which is looking to make sure that they've included all the relevant punctuation marks. So for your really little ones, that's just orientating them to when we use capitals, when we use full stops. For your older kids, you might be looking at where they're using speech marks. Oh, you've asked a question, can you do a question mark? It looked like he yelled that, let's do an exclamation mark. I've already said speech marks, brackets, commas, all of those sort of points of punctuation. So punctuation police is what we call that. We also use editor eyes. Editor eyes are what little ones use when they read over their text, and they might go, oh, that word doesn't quite look right. Let's go to a whiteboard scrap piece of paper. We call that our brain dumping space, and they'll figure out. So let's just say a word like play. and they're looking at it and like they might have written about how they went to play outside in their little diary, but play is P-L-A, and they're looking at it and they're like, oh, that doesn't look right. Or if they haven't yet got that awareness, you could bring your attention to it and go, oh, I don't think my editor eyes recognise that word. What's another way we could spell that A sound? Go over to your brain dump page, support them as much as you need. You know, they might try their AI rule or their EA rule or anything like that, but really try and support and scaffold them as much as you can. Oh, what about in day and say? That's the AY rule. Let's try that. Let's see if your editor eyes recognise that. So punctuation, please, editor eyes, and another thing called effort level. Now, we introduced that. I updated the resource last term, I think, because I was just finding that kids were sort of, fudging it and just trying to get through it as fast as they could. And if we really reflected on, if at the end of it, my editor eyes have gone crazy on it, and then I said, well, where were you at your effort level? Quite often they would produce an honest answer and go, oh, it's probably 1 out of 10. So making sure that as long as we're sort of at around that 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 effort level, that's all we can ask of them. They're trying their little butts off, so let's just try and support them as much as we can. The other idea is a resource that I quite often use with my students called Kids News. So again, I'll link it below. But Kids News is a wonderful website where they level the passages depending on level of difficulty. So they're colour-coded to green, orange and red for easy, intermediate, difficult. And they have comprehension questions at the end. They have extended pieces at the end, so they might ask you to do, write a paragraph on why you think X, Y and Z is important, or, so you can tailor this to just be an oral language task for your little ones that aren't yet up to writing it, and you can be writing down keywords for them so that they're starting to get that literacy and print awareness. But there's some really gorgeous articles. It is all current affairs as well, which I think is really important. It's showing our little ones that reading is how we engage with the greater world as well. It's how we as adults get a lot of our knowledge. There's a really lovely good news article as well going on. I'll link that below. Talking about the current crisis, but wording it for kids. And it's talking about how much good news there is right now as well. And it does address some of the issues with COVID-19, but just frames it in a much more kid-friendly, lovely light. And the comprehension questions and supplement questions from that are really good with that article as well. So I'll link that below. But they're just a couple of ideas for things that you can do in the meantime. I will pop in here and there. If you feel like there's a specific area that you would like supported, if you're like my kid's really even struggling to sound out the words, then I can do a specific video for that as well. So let me know. Boss me around as much as you need to over the course of this sort of video series. And I'm really trying to meet you guys where you're at and what you feel like you need the most supports. But for generic sort of homeschooling supports and things that you can do to encourage literacy in the home, they would be my top tips for now. So thank you for listening, and all the best. Thank you.